I'm live.
Yep.
Yeah, let's see if the music kicks on. There's some adventure music for you. That might help you.
Ooh.
It seems like I can't wait to get started. I'm going to get started. Go figure.
Oh, I'm a little worried about part of this story because there's some not so thinly veiled scatological humor in it.
Not so thinly veiled. What?
Scatological humor?
Scatological?
Yeah, you know, poop.
Oh, okay. Oh, the potty humor.
Yeah.
Fuck jokes.
Well, a couple weeks ago, it was my nephew's 5th birthday. And my nephew calls my wife Aunt Poopy. So
must go over well with your wife.
Well, it's just one of those. I mean, it's just teasing between
Right.
the two of them. So my wife found these rubber poops that you can kind of like hook over your finger and shoot like a slingshot, kind of.
Mhm.
And they're not exactly sticky, but they will kind of stick on the right kind of texture of wall. And I thought they were fun, so I got some for my classroom.
Oh.
And then I found out they really stick to my ceiling. Like, it is amazing how well they stick to my ceiling. But after shooting the ceiling full of these fake poops, I thought, well, not that I need the custodian to take these down, but I'd be scared of the custodian thinking that she has to take them down. So I decided to take them down before, she had to deal with it. And I'm tall enough that I can jump up and reach the ceiling tiles in my classroom. It's not a big problem. But discovered that every time I jump, I get super dizzy now.
Ooh, that's not good.
No, not really. I'm a little worried. It's one of those things because my cardiologist was like, he always tells me, he's like, if you have trouble going upstairs or if you're having trouble walking very far or, you start having strange, all this stuff. I'm like, oh,
Dizzy spells when you're peeing and stuff like that.
Yeah. So I think I'm going to have to actually be like, yeah, so I can't jump really anymore. I mean, because even a couple of years ago, I was doing Taekwondo, I was doing jump kicks and whatnot. Not a problem. And I'm like, if I did that now, I'd be scared I wouldn't be able to stick the landing. Which I got to tell you, I mean, I've sparred half blind before, and that's not super fun, but it's doable. I could see the blobs as they're coming towards me, but
just emotion.
I don't think I want to do that while I'm dizzy. I mean,
right, your balance is
yeah. I mean,
strong.
And I normally have pretty darn good. Like I can do a side kick and just hold it, whereas a lot of people can't. Like they'll fall over. They can do the side kick as long as it's fast, but holding it out there, they don't have the balance for it, and I do.
I used to sit in the splits.
Yeah.
Used to.
Well, my son and I were
not that flexible anymore. I don't have the balance and the strength in my muscles. All that stuff comes to leave in a coma, I guess.
Well, my son and I were verbally sparring the other day, and I was like, yeah, whatever, I'll kick you across the room again. He's like, you can't do that anymore. And I'm like, yeah, I bet you I still can. He's like, no, your knee's bad. And I'm like, which knee? He's like, your left one. And I'm like, yeah, well, that's my bad knee, so I don't really have to worry about using, like, it's not my dominant knee. My dominant leg's my right leg. So if I want to really kick someone, I'm going to use my right leg. And he's like, yeah, but you can't stand on it like that. And I was like, oh yeah? Watch this. So it's just that kind of the same stuff that you do with Eli with, you know, can't love me more, I love you more. That kind of thing.
Yeah, right.
Only for me, it's I can kick you farther.
Well, I mean, we have those kinds of interactions too.
By the way, how is Eli after today's adventure?
Yeah, right. And it said Dad was definitely wasn't anymore today. He didn't get hurt, at least
Right.
there's no obvious signs of hurt. He's oblivious. I mean, that's,
Okay.
you know, he's
Well, I was worried he
that
would be like
point where
agitated.
right, that's what I'm saying. Like it's like he didn't even register it. It's not important in his day or routine or whatever. Grab the car and come back inside and watching videos on YouTube, and he really doesn't understand what he did. And, I mean, he knows what he did, but he doesn't understand how it's not okay. I have a hard time with that because I know he knows that that's not what he's supposed to be doing. I know that he knows that, so.
I've got a student who is he's definitely on the spectrum. Let's put it that way. And the other day, he had lost his iPad, and he was clear. I mean, that's all I could think about. That was just it. Just, you know, he just thinks the whole world is coming to an end. And it's like, no, it's okay. Like, you know.
Eli definitely does get agitated. He gets agitated easy. It's stupid shit. You say his friend's not coming over today, you know what I mean? And instead of him accepting it, he'll either get agitated or he'll be like, yeah, or whatever. Like we'd love for him to come hang out with you, you know what I mean? It's not a us thing. We're not keeping that from happening. But he doesn't get that. And then when you stop him, the thing is that he does know. Just sometimes he lets on that he knows, and sometimes he goes off into a completely different realm. And that's really hard because you never know when you can talk to him or not.
Yeah.
Like, he'll remember that. He'll remember that it was wrong or whatever. But by the time he does, you can't tell him anything about it, you know? And that's hard. You can't address the situation because it's already done with him. Well, just an Eli. There's no other really way to put it. I don't know of any kid that's got. I guess maybe I don't know of any other kid that's got his exact condition.
Yeah.
But just the same, I don't know of any other kid that has special needs like he does that is of the same I don't even know what you'd call it. Like he's the other kids. They may have things that upset them or whatever, but they all are triggers, I guess, right?
Right.
They all have these triggers, all of them. But Eli's, they go on like it's really weird, like a light switch. Like he like literally will be fine 1 second and laughing, and he just, it's like he snapped a switch and he's a different kid. And there are certain indicators for certain behaviors.
Yeah.
Because he refuses to potty train. Which is really weird because it's only with us. If he's at school, he doesn't have any problem taking care of his own business. But with us, it's like, no way. Just outright refuses. But yeah, like he'll have behaviors when he's got a diaper or whatever, and you know that he has one because he does weird stuff. Like he'll invent like Rube Goldberg traps. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He'll wind a cord through the banisters. Wind the cord through the banisters, and if you move it, he'll know. Like if you move just one from one banister, he'll know. He knows I'm talking about him right now. And it's really weird because sometimes he'll act oblivious, but he knows. And he likes to keep different aspects of his life separate.
Yeah.
Like the relationship that he starts having with you when he talks to you and says, "Hi, Brett, Eli's here," or whatever. He doesn't want you to know what he's like for us.
Okay.
He wants you to know what he presents to you. The same thing with school. Like we'll ask him how was school, and he inevitably will answer no. Like that's not an answer to how was school. Did you have a good time? Did you have a bad time? Like I've given up on asking him what he does at school because he outright refuses to tell me that.
Ugh.
So it's like, whatever, you want to keep that separate, that's good, I understand it, but did you have a good day? Did you have a hard day? Some kid pick on you, Which most of the kids don't, because most of the kids know him, and like when we go someplace and we're out, someone will be like, "Hi, Eli," and then he'll hide because he doesn't want his worlds to mix. Mom and dad don't mix with school friends. He doesn't realize that we talk to his teachers. We know what's going on with his teachers. I mean, he does realize it, but he doesn't like it. Like, I think he wants more attaboys at school for his good behavior, but doesn't want the bad behavior that goes on that's not at school known by those that are at school. Right?
Yeah.
That's probably the best job I can do of explaining that. But yeah, Amanda usually says he doesn't like his peas and carrots to touch, but not quite like that, but yeah, it's like that. drawing of your druid. It's got paint on it now.
What do you want, sir?
Nope. No, you're crazy in the head. Hey.
Don't do it there. Don't do it there.
I will dare. I'm that kind of guy.
What do you want, sir?
You're a monster.
Don't say that. No, more, sir. No, more, sir. Broke the ice. Broke there, right?
You're breaking ice, yeah.
Want to wash it?
Yeah, I'm sure they heard it on the live stream.
Hold up.
A little bit.
It's because you're a loud chunk.
Only if I want. I'll do that if I want.
Yeah, Halloween is next month's 31, not this month's 31.
There is no 31 this month.
Yeah, well, tell it to him. He's convinced next month is next year.
Oh. Not quite. Let's not rush things.
This music sounds a little Star Wars, you see. You hurt yourself on the ice? You gotta be careful on ice.
What do you want, sir?
Nope.
Yep.
No way.
Make it happen, sir.
Ain't happening.
Happen. Oh, yeah.
What?
Uh,
Ain't funny.
yeah, sir.
It ain't.
Yeah, sir. Yeah, M, sir. Ain't, sir.
No, yeah, no ain't, sir.
Yeah, ain't, sir. Jose. Jose. Jose.
No Jose.
Yeah, Jose. More.
No Jose.
Yeah, more. Yeah, more, sir.
No more.
Yeah, more.
Nope.
Yep. Ain't funny, sir. Ain't funny.
Well, now that we cleared that up,
Ain't funny.
that's right, you ain't funny.
Yeah, Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Did you poop a little? Damn, sir.
Don't say that.
I'll say whatever I want. What you gonna do about it? Nothing. That's right. No, you don't.
Yeah, do. Yes, sir.
You're so full of crap.
Thank you for that.
That sounds like either frustration or you're strangling a yak.
Oh, it's because I'm frustrated. I can't think of a way to phrase something.
You can't think of a way to phrase something?
Yeah.
Because it would be anachronistic?
No, it's just I gotta figure out. I have one character who's condescending down to another, but he's doing it kind of nicely. Like, kind of like if I were to say, face it, Rich, you're not smart enough for this. That's basically what he's saying, but he's trying to say it in a nice way.
Like, bless your heart.
Kinda. And I'm sure I'm getting in my own way. I know that's what the problem is. Later on, it'll be like, oh, yeah, just this. It's one of those things. But while I'm getting in my way, it's kind of hard to get out of my own way. Thus the frustration. Everything goes well, and then it doesn't.
Yeah, I think I'm acquainted. It's what I was saying before. Like, we will, with the AI thing,
Yeah.
we will struggle and struggle and struggle for a way to say something original to our character, original to the point of view. And that's why we should own that, because we struggle so hard to get it, right?
Yeah. And I think if you're, stealing directly, that's terrible. Like, that you shouldn't be doing that. And I get the AI kind of does that.
Well, from what I was hearing, there's a lot of the material that they're giving the AI, like that, is pirated.
See,
so it's kind of like a double.
I just don't know how accurate that term is when you're talking about what they're doing with AI.
No, I'm talking about they're taking pirated materials to feed to the AI.
Right.
Not that it's pirated because they fed it to the AI. I'm saying they're getting pirate copies of that stuff.
Oh. Well, that's a different problem.
Including Japanese manga characters for the weekly challenge. It depends. I did Guts because I knew Guts. We don't know a whole lot. There's a couple of them that I know here and there. I would have to, you guys can make suggestions as far as the weekly challenge. That's what I've been trying to do is, if you guys have made a suggestion, I try to write that down in the mod chat so we know what you guys are interested in doing. but it's unless it's a well-known one or known to one of the mods, you'd have to be like by popular vote, which I'm not opposed to, but you know, you guys need to have a show of hands in some way. Somebody commented, by the way, that's Ishawat.
Right, I saw that after you started talking about Japanese manga, and I was like, "What?"
Yeah, I had to cut over because I saw it a second ago, but it's kind of difficult for me to just pop over there when I'm.
Sorry, I just.
No,
like I said,
no, I understood that you were writing when you were part of this. We talked before.
Right.
And I knew that you weren't going to have your full attention on seeing what's coming in the chat. It's hard to anyway, but it's hard when you try to accomplish something on a deadline.
Yeah.
So I'm taking it's between your contagonist and your protagonist.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I really don't. I just
the team.
It's and it's dumb. It's one of those things where I could just write it. I mean, I could just not even have this particular comment there, I guess. Like, it's not like it's the most important comment in the entire story. It's just, I think it'll highlight how in this particular world, trolls are very, very concerned with riddles. And it's oh. And I don't know. I gotta get it. I gotta figure it out. That's all. I just need the term. Once I have the term, the rest of the scene will play out just fine. And I suppose I can just skip it, come back, whatever. But that was kind of like, so after that AI challenge that I gave you with the druid with the moose antler collar.
Yep, that's what I was saying. This got painted on because it's underneath of this.
But after seeing some of those, I was like, oh, I kind of like that. I might change one of my characters to kind of do that. Ishalat says, how about characters from One Piece manga? It has recently got a Netflix live action adaptation.
Yeah, but it's got a whole cartoon, and everyone's going to be drawing the cartoon, not the manga. But I guess it's the same rule. I'm not trying to tell you guys what you can and can't draw. You guys can draw whatever you want. But as far as the challenge goes, I'm trying to make that challenge as accessible to everybody as I can. So, if you guys vote on it and you guys want it, I'll put a challenge up if that's the popular decision. Put it in the chat and see how many people want to abide.
Yeah, so but the challenge could be to draw them in comic style.
That's what I said. Put it up in the chat. See what everybody thinks. If everybody wants that, if everybody likes that idea, then we'll do that. You know, I'm not opposed to manga. I just don't know it very well. And
So you're not being a gatekeeper on this one. You're saying,
right.
Here. So sure, thanks. Yeah, but so you're not being a gatekeeper. You're saying, all right, if people want to do it, let's do it, and if not,
right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Like so normally we kind of have something in mind, or we get something in mind very quickly.
Yeah.
When we communicate. Lately, it's been mostly me that's there. So some people have asked about if they could do different challenges, like this week's is General Zod, because that was a request, and it is a comic, so like I could just pop up General Zod and have a whole bunch of selections to go from. So I figured I'll do that. One Piece, I don't want to get into trying to figure that out. So, like, if everybody's interested, then I don't have to figure it out. They can just tell me which is their favorite, and which from One Piece that they want to do. I might just go from there. And I probably should be a little bit more versed in manga, because American comics are really the only reason that there's an American comic industry right now that's not independent, is because of manga. So that means that manga is outselling regular comic books. So I should really be a little bit more versed in it, but I'm not. So it's really hard to find the time to learn about new things while I'm learning about new things and doing other things. So definitely not opposed to putting that out there. Just don't have much knowledge. If you relied on my knowledge for manga or anime, either way, it's going to be old. And Joe's not on the show anymore, really. If Joe was on, he'd actually probably have a lot of input.
Yeah, I feel kind of bad as an American who grew up on comics that were awesome, and now it's like, nope. And I poo-pooed anime for years, and manga, and I just.
Well, I like anime, and don't get me wrong. I don't watch a lot of movies, period. So it has to be something that really gets a hold of me to make me put my time and energy into it. And there are a few that I really like, but if I were to name them, probably most of the people in the chat that are into anime wouldn't even know them because they're so old. Or they'd be so classic that everybody knows them and they've been done to death. Like Akira and Ninja Scroll and stuff like that. I really love Wolverine. I don't think a whole lot of people knew that, because when I was trying to find, I didn't remember the name of it, and I was trying to find it, nobody knew what the hell I was talking about. So. One Piece. Probably gonna piss people off, but what I've seen of it, they just look stupid. Like, I wouldn't want to draw it because it's like a Chinese Tom Sawyer looking dude. No, I probably had enough straw hats for my time.
Ushlat says Guts was a favorite one for so many. There were a lot of entries.
There were, but there were a lot of entries for the Batman Spider-Man crossover. There's been a lot of entries so far for Zod. I actually am surprised because the Spider-Man, well, Batman posed like Spider-Man, that was, they only had like 2 lights on it, but there's a lot of people that put stuff into it. I'm glad to see people taking up the challenges. The most important thing of this is that you guys have something to draw and something that you can feel proud of when you're done. Like, it doesn't matter what my opinion of a character or a comic book or whatever is. It matters whether you guys want to draw it. I'm just trying to give you guys some inspiration to draw. That's it. If you got a preference, like you said, that, like, you got to put that in the chat, because even if you want to tag me in the chat, because I won't remember it from here. By the time this night's over, it's been a really long day. And by the time I'm done with this for the night, I'm gonna be washing my paintbrushes out and then trying to get some sleep. So if you want me to remember it, you gotta put some effort into it. Yeah, I don't. As far as I know, nobody's really opposed to it. I know Kiara, I think that's how she pronounces it. I know she likes manga. She was talking about putting manga up on challenge, but she was gonna do manga and some Star Wars stuff, but I was trying to leave the challenge open for her to do it, but she never did anything. That doesn't mean that she won't in the future, because she said that she was in the Joe Kubert school, or was trying to get into the Joe Kubert school. So, I mean, that's a lot of work on her shoulders. That's why she hasn't really been around. But she shows up once in a while. I was kind of hoping that she'd be the one to do those challenges, because she knows a lot more of the manga stuff.
Hey, did you see him say, since General Zod is a brutal character, how much blood is allowed to show in the drawing?
Safe for work. The rules state that you can't post anything that's not safe for work. So, blood I think is okay to a point. Like, don't get ridiculous with it. It's not Quentin Tarantino film. But as long as it's not gross and, blood and guts and stuff, you should be alright. As long as you're not dismembering people and showing body parts that are explicit. Of course, the final ruling on that comes from Alec, because it's his channel. But he doesn't really show up very often. He's got his own stuff and a young one. I think they just had a little one like last year. It might have been earlier this year. That's how close it is. So. Try to let Alex show up when he can, because not only does he have either a newborn or very young toddler, he's in Japan right now, or last I heard, and he's doing comic stuff, and he has a I want to say a concept artist job. I'm not really sure now, so I don't want to quote on it. But he works in an art department somewhere.
I heard about a character, Granny Goodness, working for Darkseid. Never heard about her before. Will you please share your thoughts about her? Well, I know her.
What's that?
I actually know this one. I mean, I knew General Zod too, but again, going back into more American comics, I actually know about Granny Goodness. Isn't she the one that kind of raised?
I actually don't. Like I saw some stuff where I was watching the Greybeards, where they were drawing the new gods and stuff like that, and then they were talking about Darkseid and a couple of people that ran around with Darkseid, and one of the ones was a guy with a monocle. And I found his name. I figured him out, but I don't know the other ones, because I'm not a real big DC reader anyway.
Well, I'm not as big up on DC as I would be on Marvel, but I mean, DC at least had a good run with the Justice League, so that helps.
Yeah, at one time.
Well, I'm just saying. I mean, compared to most Marvel cartoons, I was never really all that thrilled with the X-Men ones that were out in the '90s, which a lot of people.
Well, I wasn't thrilled with the cartoons. I wasn't really actually talking about the cartoons. So.
Well, I know, but I'm just saying it helps to kind of, I mean, you know, nothing else. She was kind of in charge of his Furies, and incredibly masculine for a woman. At least on the cartoon, it kind of made me laugh because it was kind of like when Kathleen Turner played Chandler's dad in Friends. I mean, it's almost, but kind of the reverse. I don't know. So it's just kind of neat because she doesn't always obey, because she does tend to like her children. So she's kind of an interesting character.
I don't know. I'd have to look into. But if it's a character in a comic book, then that could be a challenge. As long as I can look it up. I could do the same thing with manga, and probably with One Piece, but I wouldn't know who to pick on One Piece or whatever. I just know who looks annoying to me. But somebody else has a suggestion and they know the character, just suggest a character, that's all. What are your thoughts on him since you asked?
He said we can have Granny Goodness. That's all he said.
So he said, yeah, it's a great idea.
Yeah.
Should be displaying some of this stuff like that.
You're just playing with toys.
Well, I mean, this is like it's what you're supposed to be doing, but I can't do this. And
Well, the problem with doing that is normally, if I do that, I got to run, I think, YouTube, where I'm a moderator. I don't know if I can do it off of. Can I do it on StreamYard?
I don't
Let
know.
me see.
Do you mouse over it and get the opportunity to put a plus on there? If you mouse over his comment, does it turn to a different
No.
color?
It doesn't.
And it has like a show and then
Yeah.
button?
Nope.
No?
Now, it might be because I'm not actually technically logged in, but
Oh, I don't know. I don't know.
oh, now you've messed up my thing. All right, there we go. Oh. Oh.
I don't know if I've got to make you a higher position in this to do it, because it's really weird with StreamYard versus YouTube. YouTube, you're a moderator. I don't even think a moderator could highlight a comment there. But what you can do is you can go in and put a link.
Yeah.
And you can kick somebody out, or you have some controls, but there's a co-host. I think, like, if I made you the literal co-host, then you have executive powers, I guess you would say.
Executive power! That'd be great. Okay. Hey, when I get executive power, supreme executive authority, something about a tart throwing swords. I don't know. My son's in the room. Hold on a second.
One good use of a flatbush. You can get kind of a fine line by using Gored. It's just the amount of paint you have on it.
Oh, my son didn't realize I was streaming, so when I was saying or yelling extreme executive or whatever it was. Executive power, whatever it was, I don't know. Anyway, he thought I was probably drunk. I don't know. He said he thought he thought I was having a stroke or flipping out about my deadline. That's in 3 hours. Technically, well, not technically. It's probably more like 6 because it's
West Coast.
Yeah. Now, Ishalat wants to know about the story behind the name the Gored Ox Pub. And I would butcher that story.
It's not really a huge story. We have a writers group where we have our own little subcategories that we post in, like short stories or submissions calls and stuff like that. In the area that was made to just hang out, we didn't have a name. So because a lot of us are fantasy writers, I was joking around one day and said the Gored Ox Pub, like tavern pub. And
Thank you. No problem.
So the guy who actually owns the Slack and another member of our writers group liked the name and kind of stuck with it. And we were talking about doing a small publisher, a more independent publisher, and that would be the name because it would be a double entendre. Pub as in place to hang out, and pub as in publishing. Because we predominantly write fantasy.
Yeah.
If you play Dungeons and Dragons, it would be similar to the Green Dragon.
That was one of so I was talking about this earlier, and then Ishalat showed up. No, which is all good. I mean, good. We love to have people comment. Don't get me wrong. But
you get different opinions and ideas.
The so that challenge that I did with with the Mid Journey and the moose collar thing. One of the pictures kind of that was on there. I was like, oh, that's kind of cool, and so I kind of want to change one of my a minor character in the story I'm working on, and so I needed a name for the race, and so I asked my older boy because he likes to play Dungeons and Dragons. It's like I had 2 options. I was like, which one do you think sounds better? And he gave me his opinion on that, and then he goes, and because I don't have time to play games anymore, sadly, as much as I'd like to. And he said, Tears of the Kingdom just introduced a race of goat-headed people, so it might look like you're borrowing ideas, which I guess is a nice way of saying stealing ideas. So,
or it's a nice way of saying that looks really close to it.
Yeah. Which I'm not exactly sure what Tears of the Kingdom actually even is. Like, I've never played it, but
right.
But it's one of those things where it's like, well, I'm glad I asked, so I could just I chose a different animal other than a goat-headed person, which is kind of what the picture looks like. But I was like, it could be something else too, and ran it by him.
The argument that we had.
Yeah.
The goat-headed person isn't original either. So it's not original to that game.
Oh, I know.
Like it was in the Island of Dr. Moreau. It's in,
Well, I mean, that's kind of like with Rebel Moon. Like, I mean, the trailer looks like there are people with lightsabers, and I'm just like, that's going to draw comparisons with with Star Wars. I mean, they're already calling it. What is it? Zack Snyder's? Isn't he the one doing that? Rebel Moon.
I think so.
Yeah, they're calling it Zack Snyder's Star Wars, which
I thought they were calling it Star Wars Light.
I just
I guess it depends on the circle, right?
yeah. I don't think I would appreciate that if I was Zack Snyder, but when you have lightsabers, let's face it, that's going to happen no matter what you do. So
Yeah, and the sucky thing about that is that Star Wars wasn't the first place to have laser swords.
I know.
But because it's the most famous place,
Yeah.
it's automatically theirs. It's kind of like the swastika. Swastika wasn't the Germans when it started. It didn't have the meaning that the Germans gave it when it started.
Yeah.
But now, every time someone sees one, that's what they think.
Yeah, that's one of those things. It's always kind of funny when we're going through The Great Gatsby because there's a Jewish character in the book, Meyer Wolfsheim, and he's a criminal and he's got a trading company. That's his front, and it's the Swastika Holding Company. And they're like, "What? How can this Jewish person have this Swastika Holding Company?" And it's like, well, this book is set in like 1922. We're 11 years before the rise of Hitler. Like, it was perfectly normal. Like that was just the thing. And
because it was a Buddhist symbol first for peace.
Well, there's all kinds of religions that have used the swastika. But, you're absolutely right. I'm not putting a swastika
I'm not saying it was the first. I'm saying it was before that.
Yeah. I'm just saying that there's no way in the world that I'm going to
Definitely
put anyone with a swastika in something I'm writing, even though I know that, there are Hindu versions of it. It's old. There are Native American versions. It's just, well, that's cool, but I'm not using it anymore. It's kind of been burned, in my opinion. So, can't do it.
Ba-dum-dum. Burn. Hey.
Oh, hi, Mark.
Did you hear our anti-Semitic?
Yes, you heard us talking about the glory of the swastika, and it's like, wait, I feel something dark in the force. A disturbance.
Yeah, that was pretty bad. I know a horrible joke along those lines, too.
Yeah.
I'll tell you when we're offline.
Oh my gosh. I'll tell you later on, not online, I'll tell you a joke my son said, a little quip at dinner the other night. Because I was like, I just looked at him and I was like, let me know what the brimstone really smells like, because you're going to hell for that. Like, it was terrible. It was funny, don't get me wrong. But I was like, that's terrible. The good part is
I'm definitely not anti-Semite. I don't.
Oh yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
not
it had nothing to do with anything like that. It was just.
Well, I'm just making that claim for the channel, man.
No.
that ain't it.
No, it was.
It was
A former coworker of mine.
At the time.
A former coworker of mine got into some trouble, and it was a bit devastating, to be honest, about what happened. And I feel terrible for his kids, because I know his kids and all this. And so, when I saw the news, which I got right at dinner, I'm just, the floor kind of drops out from underneath you. And I showed my wife, because I didn't want to talk about it in front of the boys. But then the boys are like, what? And they're old enough, so I showed them. And then Thaddeus just had his little quip, which was, I mean, it's funny, but it's terrible. So, but it's dark humor, that kind of thing. Which I think dark humor has its place as,
As long as it's not hurting somebody, really.
Well, that's why I wouldn't say it online, because I'm like, that could hurt somebody.
That's exactly why I'm like, yeah, I'll tell you that joke after the show, because it probably wouldn't hurt anybody in real life nowadays, but it's just not very tasteful, and it could. So we don't.
Yeah, that's one of those things. When a joke is not necessarily tasteful, it doesn't mean it's a bad joke. It just means that you kind of have to have the right context for it, I guess. Ishalat says, okay, bye, have fun, see you later.
Yeah, thanks for stopping by.
Yeah, Ishalat, it's great having you again. Oh. Oh, I don't know if this story
probably got insulted.
Oh, he's probably like, oh my gosh, they're talking about swastikas and jokes in poor taste. I better be out. So, probably scared him off.
Well, we have a few people that watch from pretty much the other side of the world.
Yeah.
Than us, so like I hate when I can't remember names, but can't remember a name, so I'm gonna look it up real quick. Okay, and now I know who Ishawa is on the channel, and he probably is on the other side of the world. Actually, probably is Hindu or
there you go.
That region. Can't find him. We have a regular that stops in too. I want to say his name starts with an E. Who's the other guy that's a regular here? Yeah, right. I feel a little bit less bad. Ephraim. So Ephraim is on the other side of the world. He's in the Philippines.
Oh, yeah?
And he's still in school, so he'll watch, and it's like just before school, and he'll have to head out because he has to go to school. The Philippines have actually put out some great inkers in the comic industry. Some pretty good pencilers too, but some really great inkers. Ernie Chan is from the Philippines. Alfredo Alcala is from the Philippines. Mark, are you getting a breather? Are you still here? You left already?
We scared him off too.
Oh, I doubt that he's scared off. He's been kind of exhausted.
Yeah.
He's been getting overworked. I'd say more, but I don't feel like I've got the liberty to. So.
Right.
Mark's a really good guy that's doing a hard job. For the best of reasons. So those two free wall boys,
Am I getting the what?
what? Getting a little bit of a break. Oh yeah, cool. Not much, but I'll take it. Hey. I'm glad to see you're getting a little bit of a breather. Oh, that sucks. That was a lot nicer when it was drier. I wet it a little bit, and now it looks like crap.
I think the odds of me getting this story are getting worse and worse, or getting the story done at least.
You hear that? But it's more important to get a good story than to get a story in on time. If you know it's a good story, you know what I mean? If you believe in that story.
Right, which I do actually. I think the story is working out just fine. There are parts of it. You know how when you start a story, you kind of have ideas of what's going to be in the story, and then sometimes as you go along, parts of what you thought were going to be there never seem to quite fit.
Right?
Yeah, so that's part of that is just
like that's so funny that you put it that way, because the story that I've been working on, they were supposed to do, you know, their ultimate goal was supposed to be interrupted. So like they were supposed to save what they're supposed to save, and they're supposed to, like, they were supposed to get control of where that is, and then have another force attack. So they have to conquer and then turn around and fortify, right?
right.
There's no way I got room in 10,000 words to do that. There's no way.
Well, I just
So
there was a
now it's just, can they save what they're supposed to save?
yeah.
It's way shorter than it was intended to be, story wise, but it's not word wise.
Well, I think I have plenty of room to do it. I just the structure of it. I don't know. I might be able to figure it out by the end, but I don't think it's gonna happen. I don't know.
Yeah,
We'll see.
Just cracked me up that you had worded that way, because I'm like, yeah, this is not what I was planning on. There was much more that I was planning on, and that's not happening.
Yeah.
But that's because I got a 10,000 word limit, and I don't want to end the story. Don't want to cut the story short, or I don't want to take out anything that I don't have to take out because I really like the cast of characters. You know?
Well, and sometimes, I mean, kind of what I'm trying to, you know how like you hear stories about like Marvel doing this especially, but I think DC has done it as well, where for a script to get approved, it has to have certain characters, even if the story doesn't actually need those characters.
Oh yeah.
And it's like, it's kind of a situation like that where it's like I have this idea for a character, and he fits in fine at the beginning, and I wanted him to do something at the end. But when I think about really the structure of the story, I'm like, I don't really know if that's necessary. I could just take him out in that conflict. And just
Are you going to take out a character? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, take out a character, take out the conflict that the character is going to bring. Like I don't think it's necessary. It's a cool idea. I like it, but I don't think it's going to necessarily work on this one.
I can't take the character out that made a surprise entrance. Because it turns out it's an important part of the character, the main character.
Well, that makes sense, but
you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Because that's where I kind of ended it last week, but that character wasn't necessarily supposed to be there, except for that I wanted to complicate things a little bit for him.
Yeah.
And then I was like, because there was this question of, you know what his mission is, like, who would do what he has to resolve, you know what I mean, and why.
Yeah.
Well, that answer came with her. Or at least, you know, a good chunk of that answer came with her.
Yeah.
But that wasn't what the story was supposed to be about. So it's kind of taken on a life of its own because that's what it wants.
Yeah.
And I don't, like, I mean, if I'm mostly pantsing something, which if I do that, normally I'm doing that because I'm just kind of doing a rough draft real quick that I'm going to expand on later. But I still have an idea, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I don't pants completely. I have an idea of where I'm going. Most of the time. There are times that the journey was the important part and not the conclusion. And that's why I stopped writing the last novel that I was working on, because I realized that the journey had outlived what the story was about. So I have to take a break so I can go back to it later. But yeah, this story, I'm looking at it and going, wow, this was supposed to be this way, and it's not doing that. So I did manage to get it back on the original track to a point. There is another added element because of that one, but it hasn't taken the whole story over now. I've kind of shuffled back to where I wanted it to be.
Right.
Mostly. I kind of would still love to write the whole thing out the way that I have in mind, but I've got a feeling that would be a lot longer than the word limit. I hate word limits.
Yeah, the
more I hate it.
I was thinking about this the other day, looking at Gatsby and looking at not to kill a mockingbird, because To Kill a Mockingbird's fat. Of Mice and Men. Like, Of Mice and Men's like 108 pages or something like that. And Gatsby's only like 180. And I'm like, and I was thinking about that, about how you don't see a whole bunch of novels that are that short anymore. And I'm like, why shouldn't they be? Like, people don't have attention spans that last super long, but it's longer than a short story. Like, you got some time to invest. Like, when I read Of Mice and Men, it took an hour or two to read. And
An hour or two, huh?
well, Of Mice and Men, literally, I sat down and I read it, and I was done when I got up. I mean, I had to pee, and I was already done. I mean, it was just...
did that with Cycle of the Werewolf, which was not a novel, it was a novella.
Yeah.
And I did that with Eaters of the Dead.
But I'm saying, it seems like there should be, and maybe there is, and I just haven't been buying them because I haven't been aware. But I would think novellas should actually sell better now than they ever have before. Because
Jesse was saying that remember he bought my Snarky story.
yeah,
And the reason that I was writing a second Snarky story
yeah,
was that he said that they sell better in novellas, but he really only wanted at least 10,000 words,
yeah,
which is not a novella; it's a novelette.
yeah.
I know it's kind of splitting hairs, but that's
Yeah, I know.
They're defining it as that, but so I guess what I'm saying is he pretty much supported what you're saying, that he wanted to put out a separate publication for Snarky because the original story, I think the original story was 10,000 words. It rang in somewhere near there, 10,000 words.
Yeah.
Because it was originally written for Writers of the Future. So he wanted to have enough to make it, I think he said around 14,000, so that it could be novelette or something like that. And I was like, or novella. And I was like, I think that's really 17.5 after that, right? So that's the reason that the second Snarky story, the prequel, is a little bit longer than just a 10,000 word or a 4,000 word story or whatever. Because that's what he was saying, that yeah, it's they buy it better. Instead of a collection of short stories, they'd rather be buying a novelette or novella.
Well, it makes sense to me. I mean, again, you get one story that's not a bad size, but it's also not too big. Like some, I mean, there are plenty of people, they see a book that fat and they're like, nope, just doesn't matter. I mean, I've never been, well, I don't think I've ever been that way, because I can remember being pretty darn young and I was like, no, give me the fat book, because if it's good, I want it to last. You know what I mean?
Right. And now everybody's got a short attention span. They want it. It's that Burger King, my way, right way. My way, right way.
Mark, 9 minutes ago, sadly enough, said, you guys reading the Name of the Wind series? Any thoughts on it?
I said I read the first one.
Yeah, I read the first one too, but it was like so long ago. And then
so
the second one wasn't out yet.
I would love to hear your thoughts on it. The second one, I've got the first and second one. Third one isn't out yet. He was supposed to, like, Kevin J. Anderson introduced him to his publisher because he took part of the Name of the Wind and turned it to novella so that he could win the Riders of the Future.
I mean, I thought it was a great book.
He was supposed to write a trilogy, and it was supposed to be out way ahead of that. And it's been a crazy amount of time for him to not finish that trilogy. And he's reading chapters of it unfinished online, and it's I don't know. So snafu. So what did I think of it? Honestly, it felt very much like Wizard of Earthsea and Harry Potter. It's like somewhere in between.
Okay.
Because Wizard of Earthsea is basically Harry Potter on an archipelago. A long time ago, fantasy time period, and Harry Potter's are supposed to be contemporary fantasy. So they, it felt a lot like that. He was in wizard school. It's another wizard school book, So I don't know what to say much from there. I don't want to give anything away. It was a good book, but it was it wasn't very original to me. It didn't feel. I don't know. I guess the promise of that book to me that I was disappointed mostly with that book is the Crane story was never finished. It still isn't finished.
Right. That's kind of the bad part. I mean, I remember when I was the second book.
To the point where I just don't even care anymore. Like, all right, whatever. He's the king killer. Woo.
My problem was I read the first one.
That sounds really assholey, but
yeah,
that's kind of where I'm at.
Well, I mean, I read the first one, and then I ended up homeless. And when the second one was out, I was still homeless, and I couldn't. I wasn't going to be buying books. And yeah, by the time I felt like I had time to read and had things I could do, I was like, I'm not even. For a long time, I had a hard time remembering what the name of it was.
Wise Man's Fear, that one?
What?
Wise Man's Fear, is that what you're talking about?
No, with the Name of the Wind.
Yeah, the sequel is A Wise Man's Fear, right?
Oh, I didn't even know that. I mean, I would have to literally look up on, I would have to Google the Name of the Wind sequel.
Well, I have it. The problem is that by the time he put it out, and it had been so long.
Yeah. Forgot everything.
No, I forgot some stuff, obviously, but the problem is that Robert Jordan died before he finished his epic fantasy. George Martin just quit writing his epic fantasy and gives all kinds of excuses why he could write prequels. And this dude can't even finish a trilogy. But I don't want to read and invest in his books anymore until he finishes the fucking thing. You know what I mean? Because he's been so long, I don't believe he will. I don't believe he will. He's got to prove me wrong. He only wrote 2 books.
That's one of the things I don't understand about.
Which really sucks because there's a lot of good fantasies that are series that I've read that I just don't want to start any major fantasies now because I don't believe anyone's going to finish it. And I've seen too many people go, oh, I don't care if they finish it because I like the characters and I like the world. Well, I care if they finish it because I've invested a lot of money and a lot of time into reading that fucking story. And if they don't finish it, I'm cheated out of my money. I know Larry Correa says you don't have the right to demand they finish the books or blah, blah, blah. Well, I have the right to not invest in any of their fucking books in the future until I see them finish their cycle.
Yeah.
And that's where I am with him. Like I didn't read the most special thing that I read about the Name of the Wind was the frame story, and he didn't give us anything. He just gave us enough to hook us, and then fucking dropped it. That kind of gets on my nerves. You know, don't make promises you don't intend to even keep.
I'm kind of shocked to hear that you're perturbed. I couldn't tell. Oh, goodness.
Well, he asked my opinion. I'm not saying it's bad writing or bad story or whatever. It's incomplete, and it just does not feel like he's going to complete. It feels like he cheated us.
Well, I can understand that.
Every time he puts something out online, and he does a reading online or any of that crap, it feels like he cheats us more, you know? Because he's doing a reading online, or he's giving somebody a chapter of the third book if they donate to this cause or donate to that cause. And that doesn't really feel like he gives a crap about what he's doing. He's not, invested in his fans, and you know what I mean? He's not keeping the promises to his fans. What's up with that, right? Yeah. So, yeah, that's what makes it hard for me, because I'm looking at it and going, he's just really screwing us over. And everyone's like, oh, it's okay because I like Quoth. Well, I don't like Quoth that much. I mean, he's all right. I just don't like him that much. Did the world feel a little flat to you? When they went back, when he started telling Quoth's tale.
Oh, my earbuds.
Cool.
I can't hear you.
Oh.
Okay, sorry. I yanked my own earbuds out.
What was the last thing you heard?
You asked if the world felt flat to me.
Yeah, I said, did the world feel a little flat to you when he went back into telling the story about him going to the school? Like the world of the school in that area, did it feel like it was kind of generic?
I don't remember it. I mean, again,
I guess that's something right there.
Yeah, there you go.
I mean, really, because if you talk about Game of Thrones, and I read Game of Thrones, I read the first 4 books. I can tell you quite a lot about the realm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I can tell you more about the Hyborian Age and Samaria and Kush and all of that than I can the area where Quoth is. Matter of fact, Mark. Oh, I do this all the time. It's not a hard name. Wow. Okay, Mark Lawrence is a fantasy writer, and he wrote 3 books called the Broken Empire trilogy.
Yeah.
And then he wrote 3 more books set in that world, but from a different character's point of view, and it's kind of a parallel story, like being an Ender, but in a grimdark world. So I can remember his world pretty well. I liked the books, but I felt cheated at the end of the original trilogy.
Yeah.
Because of the way it ended. It gave no clue. It led you to believe that it was a certain type of book. And at the end, it kind of pulled a switch on you going, it's not that type of book, it's this type of book. And it would have been alright if it was this type of book the whole time, but we didn't have any clue until the end.
No.
I kind of felt a little cheated about that. I can see how he did it, why he did it, but yeah, he was a seat of the pants writer on that series too, so I think he was making it up as he went along, and he came to a place where he had to have an inevitable conclusion, and he had that inevitable conclusion, right?
Yeah.
The parallel, it's called the Red Queen's War, and I love that trilogy. I just love it. It's told from the point of view of, well, it starts off like I'm a coward. Like I would do anything for a friend unless it required courage and telling the truth and standing up for them or whatever, that kind of thing. But there is a tempering factor to it. So it's being told by a person that's really unlikable or almost unlikable, or really a bad person, even though he's more likable than he should be for a bad person.
Yeah.
But there's a really good person that's kind of a twist on the trope of that kind of person that he's kind of magically locked into in the very beginning of the book, or very beginning of that trilogy. And I really loved that trilogy. Didn't get enough of it. He said that that's one of his lowest selling trilogies, which I'm like, wow, because that's my favorite of them. So, but it's the way it works, right? We don't get to pick, or the writers don't get to pick what the fans are going to like most.
Right.
We just have to deal with what we have to deal with. But yeah, so he wrote 3 books. He finished those 3 books. I didn't necessarily like the ending, but I can remember the world. And he had an ending. And it made sense. Like I said, I didn't necessarily like it because it felt like it switched genres on me at the last minute. The Red Queen's War didn't go, but I already knew. So like coming into that story, and I knew what lands it was set in. I knew the realm, I knew the rules of it, and then I knew that it was a parallel story with the first one because the 2 main characters literally have a drink together at one point. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I already knew how that one character's arc was going to end. So it made it a lot easier for me to accept stuff that I had a hard time accepting in the first one.
Yeah.
But I remember the realm. Like, I remember pretty much the rules of the realm.
Hey, Mark said question. I don't know what the question is.
Okay, ask the question, Mark.
He might be gone. I don't know. He hasn't, or he's typing slowly.
I'm going to say it hasn't been all that long since you asked that. 5 minutes. Well, right around 5 minutes. got a reference, but I'm using it backwards. So,
That's fun.
well, yeah. I mean, I didn't realize it when I got the reference that I was going to be flipping it around. I didn't realize it until I put the light source, the finished light source in. So. Remember, the theory is if you don't like it, you can paint over it. So
That's true.
but I don't think I'm going to have to. Just maybe some of this bottom stuff I will. What I'm going to do is use more purples in there because the light source is in this corner mostly.
Mark said, "Gotta run, guys. Ciao."
That was the question?
I don't know.
He just came to stir some stuff up and leave.
No, he wanted to see if we'd fight.
All right. Gonna fight over an unfinished book series.
Have you ever read the Jump 225 trilogy?
The what?
Jump 225.
No, I don't think so.
Uh,
I didn't read the whole trilogy at least because I don't recognize it as the name.
Well, that's the weird part. I mean, I know why it's called that, but it's weird. The books are Infoquake, Multi-Reel, and Geosynchron, and it's by David Lewis Edelman.
Nope.
Oh, those are some fantastic sci-fi books. Some of the stuff that he does.
I don't read a whole lot of sci-fi, so
Well, I just
you can't tell. Couldn't tell that in my critiques with you and Jake. Like I'd love to say that I do, but I don't.
those are probably some of my favorite science fiction books from the past 20 years. So, I mean, you know, if it's not your thing, it's not your thing, but it's just, I don't know.
You know, my favorite science fiction book, my favorite, like, hard science fiction book
Yeah, what?
is Mars by Ben Bova.
Okay.
It's a character book, really. It's about a mission to Mars, obviously. But it's like some of the things that they are worried about and they have to deal with are things that's the hard sci-fi part, right?
Yeah.
And Ben Bova was Orson Scott Card's editor when he started writing. So, and it was Ben Bova's wife that was his agent for a long time. Yeah, I was surprised because I really normally don't find that kind of thing an interesting reading.
Yeah.
And Mars by Ben Bova held me all the way through. now that I'm thinking about it too, there had a lot of what we would call now politically correct stuff, but it didn't feel like it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It just felt like it was like there's people that are getting ready to go on this mission, and everybody wants a place on this ship because it is, the ultimate thing to go to Mars. That is the moonwalk of this generation, and
Hey, Shalot's back.
cool. And it's the relationship between the main character, who's Native American, and one of the women that's on board. So, yeah, it's one of the rare times that I really like sci-fi, and other than that, the extent of my sci-fi reading really mostly is Orson Scott Card. Philip K. Dick a bit, but I don't know if I really consider him as much sci-fi as just weird fiction. I mean, it's speculative, don't get me wrong, but it doesn't feel like hard sci-fi anyway.
Yeah,
it might have been actually. It might have been. There's a lot more hard sci-fi to it. But. So, I don't know. Hey, that's gonna work out for me. As far as sci-fi goes. That might be a little bit. So what are they about?
So,
Because you just said sci-fi.
yeah, it's set in it's definitely science fiction because it's set in a very distant future world where, like,
Dune and Kevin J. Anderson are the other sci-fi books that I mostly read.
Jump 225 books incorporate a lot of nanobot technology. So, like,
Neuromancer and stuff like that.
yeah, kind of. And so, like your house folds up at the end of the, like, when you leave in the morning. Most people don't actually. Oh, there was that. Oh, they kind of send out like avatars more often than anything else. It's rare that they're actually there. I mean, there's just all this kind of stuff, and there's a developer who's the protagonist, who kind of has this. He's kind of like if Ayn Rand were to write about a futuristic computer developer or a programmer, that's what this guy is. He's an objectivist computer programmer, and he gets a hold of this concept, which is what multi-real is about, where it allows you to go through like an infinite number of possibilities until you like the one until you like the outcome of one, and then you can just do that. And they're like, the government's trying to squash it, and they're trying to blame these things called infoquakes, which is from the first book, that it's kind of like, when your internet goes down, except for all of reality is just about based on the internet at this point. So when it goes down, like, people die, their houses crush them. I mean, it's terrible. It is a huge catastrophe, and they're trying to say that this program is kind of like causing these things because it's taking up too much, like too much memory or whatever. I mean, it's just neat to kind of watch him battling this out, and it's just fun. I don't know. I really enjoyed it. I like the underdog protagonist. I like he's unabashedly just in it for himself.
Do you normally read sci-fi?
I read sci-fi. I mean, I read all kinds of things. That's the thing. I don't stick with one genre. So,
well, I'm not. Like, that's not really the question. Like, I normally read fantasy, or I normally read historical fiction, or I normally read crime dramas or crime stories. That doesn't mean that I only read them.
Right, I get it. I'm just saying.
I just normally read them, so
I jump around.
Normally read science fiction, depending on what it is. I mean, like Dune, Saga of Seven Sons from Kevin J. Anderson. Those things I did. I enjoyed Dune quite a bit.
That's because Dune is barely science fiction.
Well, Dune is allegory.
Yeah, I know.
And that was really my first experience with allegory. You know what I mean? It was I didn't have that nuance when I was in school. That we didn't really read that kind of stuff. So my experience with it is very, very limited. Dune I read because somebody who I didn't expect to even be a reader was all like, "Oh, that's my favorite book." And the first one was, I've seen so many interpretations of the first one, so it's really hard for me to watch just another one. It's like I watched the Villeneuve version, and it's all right. I think the most accurate version is the Sci-Fi Channel version. Unfortunately, they didn't do the same thing with the next book. Well, yeah, Susan Sarandon got on board, and they kind of put Dune Messiah and Children of Dune into one. That does not work out well, really. So I don't have a whole lot of experience with allegory beyond, I mean, a little bit, but Dune was really my first. I really liked the whole thing. Like I said, I got something different out of it than a lot of people did, though.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Like, I think we were talking about one time. Is it you that thinks that the Kwisatz Haderach was really Duncan, Idaho?
That's because that's what it literally says in the last book.
Yeah, that is not what I felt when I was reading it, and it says something else in an earlier book. It says Miles Tegg in an earlier book.
It says what?
Miles Tegg. So I liked it being Miles Tegg, the way that they did it and the way that it came across. And I felt like they changed it, or somebody else just got a different view of it than I did. I read all the way through. I mean, you're talking about the last book that Kevin J. Anderson put out?
Yeah.
Yeah, see, I didn't read that. I read what Frank Herbert wrote, and it did not make me feel like, it made me feel like Miles Tegg was, because Miles Tag was really the center of the last two that he wrote.
Well, I'm simply telling you.
I didn't read the Kevin J. Anderson and Brian Herbert one because
Hey, Ishala has a question for you. He wants to know what's the thought behind choosing the warm tone and cool tone for painting.
huh?
Ishala said, "What's
I'm
the thought?"
asking him, huh?
Okay.
The warm tone and cool tone are.
Well, you know, like your.
Well, I know what they are. I'm just saying they're contrasts. The eye is always drawn to the point of highest contrast. So, for me to make these this color and the blues in here separates that background from the foreground. Also, to to be honest, and you really can't tell, but this camera makes this look a lot brighter than it actually is. It makes it look like this is really dirty with browns and stuff, and it doesn't look like that as much on that. What I just did was put in a brown red. It's more brown purple. But so the idea is that it's a contrast, and contrasts draw the eye, makes things stand out, and I want everything a little bit of a darker value than what I'm going to do on her. But on her, this is summer also, so there should be a lot of warm colors, which is why there's warm colors in the sky and warm colors where we are here, and this looks dry even though it's not warm colors. This a lot, it looks like it's blue. That's actually purple. But it's going to have, a lot of this is going to be covered because this is a monster that's going to have a slice in its head. And there's going to be a puddle going on around it, which I think is going to probably be in maybe greens, because we don't have any greens in here. Let's say we. I don't have any greens in here. I thought I was going to have a lot more brushes for by this time. Yeah, still working my way forward.
If we have to go for a certain mood, which tone is suitable for calm and unsettling mood?
So they say yellows are calming tones. Whites and reds are heated tones, like angry tones, but whites can be unsettling. But if I'm painting, generally you're not going to really see white, because there's no real true white in nature. It's always a little bit of a tone. Like if you take any painting and put it on a digital monitor and clip the lightest color, do a sampling of that lightest color, you're going to find out it's not white.
Ugh.
But mood, the overall mood,
Calm versus unsettling.
yeah, that's what I was saying. Calm usually is yellows. Yellows are supposed to be very calming colors. Whites and reds are heated colors. They tend to make you feel angry quicker. But white's an uncomfortable color. That's why most doctors' offices try to avoid using white. They're solid white.
Plus, can't you do that by juxtaposing? If you have two contrasting colors and you juxtapose them or put them side by side, it tends to be a little more jarring. Like unsettling.
So you're talking about complementary colors. And the general rule of thumb is you want to use complementary colors, which is what I did in the cloud. You got yellow and you got blue. But you also want a neutral color because the eye don't like it. It's not just unsettling, it's the eye doesn't like it. You want the eye to like it. Short answer to that is if you have a neutral in between there a little bit, doesn't even have to be much, just a little bit. You still have that contrast, you still have that, draws your eye to it. And sometimes in an unsettling way. But you don't do it in a way that makes the eye, rebel or don't like it, doesn't offend the eye. It's weird because making something uncomfortable and making something offensive to the eye are not the same thing. I really like hots and colds. I like the way that they work against each other. They're comfortable colors. They're colors that we see in nature. They're colors we see everywhere, really. The blue of the sky is not so in your face, and the yellow on those clouds are not so in your face. That allows my yellow in the sky that really would be blending with the blue to actually be behind the clouds, but that yellow in the sky is brighter. Did I answer your question? Probably not, right? Really gotten a lot done with this flat brush. This is still basic coat stuff, but the background is not as important as the foreground. It really never is. Like, these are not as important as her. But it's all layers. I mean, I'm going to build it and build it and build it until I get it where I want it. I actually want to go over this with a darker brown with a wash. I guess that would be a glaze. Yeah. When all is said and done, for the first part of it. I'm going to add some blues in here too. Persistence pretty much is the key to everything. Which is why I screw myself up by trying to keep going and keep going and keep going sometimes, because I know persistence is the key. It's going to look better once I get it where I want it. But getting it to the point where I'm getting it where I want it, it's not always as it sounds.
Oh. It's time to become that particular one. I sent a message to my family. I was testing something out for my story. And I thought, well, because it's one of those things I knew I was going to need for the story, but I didn't need it right then. So I messaged it to my family thinking, well, it will be in my messages. And now I can't find the damn thing. Oh. Found it. Yay. Ugh. Yeah. That's what I was.
I don't know if that was a good yeah or a bad yeah.
Well, now I'm worried. Well, here I can't say what this is on publicly. So let me just. I just can't. Like there's no way. Like I definitely can't put this public.
Okay.
No, I can verbalize at least part of this. Yeah. Oh, here we go.
You don't have to.
No, I can't. I'm trying to think if someone somehow saw this on Riders of the Future, if it would get me disqualified. Because then they would. I don't think so. Yeah, I think I can technically talk about this. Yeah, so I got this scene in my story where there's somebody giving riddles, right? And I want 3 riddles, and I want 2 riddles to be relatively easy, and the third one is harder. And so I don't think anyone owns the copyright on these riddles. Like, can you copyright riddle? Like, if I make a riddle, it'll be copywritten. But if it's something that's been around for ever, like this riddle of the Sphinx or something, that's not copywritten, right? Like, nobody owns the copyright to that.
I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah. But I'm not an expert on it, so.
Well, I suppose if I get kicked out, I'll know why. But I purposely just wanted to I just found 2 riddles online that I liked that I hadn't heard before, but that I can find on multiple sites, so that I know it's from all over the place, and nothing comes up when I Google just that riddle. It's not like it's telling me, oh, that's from this book or anything like that. So I don't think it's So I'm pretty sure there's no copyright. And then, but the one that I made, the one that I sat around and thought up on my, very own, that I'm super thrilled with, I Googled that too, and I'm not finding anything on that. So, in a way, I'm kind of like setting it up so it's easy, and then like you can't cheat this one, I guess. Like you can cheat the other two, which is fine, but you can't cheat this one, which makes me happy. Now the best part was, so I had sent this riddle to my group chat with my family, right? And my wife is like, "Are you talking about poop?" I'm like, "You have that on the brain." It's like, "No, I'm not talking about poop," but kind of made me laugh. But anyway.
Oh, I thought you were talking about food.
Well, it was kind of funny yesterday. With several of my colleagues, the guy posted a riddle. He said, "What's the only date that's also a full sentence?" And
What?
Yeah, what's the only date that's a full sentence? And I came up with an answer. Another person came up with a different answer. And then he said there was from a podcast he was listening to. And he's like, well, they had a third answer and all three are correct. So it's not the only one that's a full sentence. Because I said June 8. That's a sentence. It's like, June 8th's a date. Got it. But June 8 is also a sentence.
7, 8, 9.
There's also March 1st, which is a sentence as well.
Right.
But
7,
the one
8,
that I wanted was March 4th.
Those are sentences
No,
too.
those all could be turned into sentences.
If you take 8 as
Imperative sentences, but sentences nonetheless. Although June 8 is just a...
I'm saying if you take 8 as a verb, you can do 7, 8, 9, or 9, 8,
Yeah, there's that one too. Well, but that's not a date.
What do you mean?
But June 8 works.
That would be September 8th, 7 AD.
Did you die? Did your music die? What happened? I'm not hearing Bitch, are you there?
I'm here.
Hello.
You can't hear me?
Well, I can see your hand. I can't hear you.
That might be on your end.
I think the FBI is beginning to shut you down. There you are.
You hear that?
I hear you now. That was weird.
Did you do what I said?
I can hear you. I mean, your music's loud, but...
I said, did you do what I said?
No. Something about... I don't know.
I told you to leave and come back in.
Oh, well, I didn't do that.
I don't know, that's weird.
I think you were about to talk about state secrets and the NSA shut you down.
I doubt it. I was saying 7, 8, 9, and 9, 8, 7 are dates.
How is 7, 8, 9 a date?
7 is what?
Well, let's say
July
that's
8th in the year 9.
Oh, okay.
And that's the same thing for 987. It's September 8th.
Yep.
But either one, like that 8 can also be a verb. So that's also a sentence.
Yeah. That is weird that you just, like, at first I thought it was frozen. But then I noticed that my head was still bopping along. And
Yeah, I waved. So I know you saw me wave.
yeah.
Whoever's watching didn't tell us whether or not they could hear me. So I don't know at this point whether it was you or me.
I don't know.
I do know that I've got all this laid out. Now it's got to dry before I can build on it.
Cool.
So this is probably where I'm going to cut this off for the night. This will darken also as it dries, and that's what I'm waiting to see. Yeesh. Alright, so I am going to cut it off here. Then I can tell you that joke offline.
Okay.
It's tasteless, but hey, you know. Oh, you know, I also may have bumped my camera, and sometimes when the camera doesn't know, because it didn't.
Yeah.
It didn't say that it wasn't connected. Normally, like, if I bump my camera just wrong,
Yeah.
not even the camera, it's the plug for the camera, because it's plugged into a data port that's plugged into a data port. It's a splitter. Because I only got one data port, so I can't do my mouse on the camera and the mic and all this other stuff. So I have a splitter, but it's really weird. The angle of the splitter will decide whether or not it's actually coming through. And sometimes, like if I jiggle it, it will cut me off, and you'll see my camera disappear. Like I go out of the room. It's not. It's just it shut the camera off, and if I unplug this, you know, it'll switch back to my face. So, I'm trying to save everybody that. Anyway, everyone that showed up, thanks for watching. Hit like, subscribe if you like it. Good night. God bless. Love you all.
Peace.